So we'll get started where we left off, a continuation of our proposed amendments. And I think the amendments are done. We'll move on to the pre-notice. There we go. We got it.
Okay, shall I go?
Yes, you can go ahead, Cristiano.
Good evening from Italy, for here it's evening time. Cristiano Perillo Marcone, 44 Gatti Cats Club. I'm talking to you about our proposal for the kitten winner title. How it works, it's quite easy. You probably need to explain a bit better why we are making this proposal. The title works this way: a kitten achieving at least 10 finals with a count of at least 20 kittens is eligible for the kitten winner final. If at least 8 of these finals need to be all breed, and the 20 kitten count requirement is in the single specialty class for specialty finals. It's quite easy. The point is, why are we making this proposal? Our first aim is getting more entries, more revenues in our shows as a club, first of all. We are offering more opportunities for our exhibitors, and in the end, getting for CFA more business, more revenues. The point is, we are chartering Italy with our shows, and we base our proposal on what we see in Italy, and basically it's not so different what we see in the whole Region 9. Region 9, we have many breeders showing, breeding, and registering their cats with other associations. So we need to compare and to give competitive advantage to our exhibitors to lure them in and join them and invite and convincing them to join our shows. Our proposal is quite competitive in the championship, as an exhibitor compares the titles he gets with WCF or FIFA. He needs to join 2 shows to get a CAC certificate with what he gets in the CFA show. We generally put on 6 rings shows, so in one weekend, an exhibitor can go away with a champion title. And that's competitive for an exhibitor who used not to drive farther than 200 kilometers, say 150 miles. And within that driving distance, he can join a show basically every weekend. He already has his association, he already has his shows. We need to convince him to come and try our shows. Once they try, most of the times they have fun, they enjoy it, and some return. Some are newbies, even founded a new club in Italy, and that's very successful for us. But so far, we've been chartering Italy alone. Basically, we have been arranging shows in Northern Italy. What other associations in the kitten class offer some titles? The only title with CFA a local exhibitor newbie can get is a regional winner. So either your kitten is a top 25 of the region, or you get no title. It's an all or nothing title. You don't get any intermediate title. This is what differently from what we did for championship, for instance, where we got the bronze, the silver, the gold, we got the Grando distinction. We are offering titles to exhibitors in more mature areas, say regions 1 to 7, where we have 7 regions spanning one single country, United States, while in Europe we have 1 region with 44 countries, and only 13 of these countries have a chartering club. We're offering these options, shading titles with the bronze, silver, and gold in the United States, offering the Grando distinction to convince an exhibitor showing for 3 years, campaigning for 3 years, the same cat. Of course, we cannot do that with kittens. We're trying to work, on the other hand, making a proposal for our exhibitors, convincing them to show our kittens in more shows. They know that kitten would not make it for regional winner. Maybe he would. Maybe the kitten would get the original winner, but the exhibitor is not willing to travel abroad, because remember, in Region 9, you need to travel abroad to go from one show to the other, or nevertheless flying with a kitten. They only drive to shows and only to local area, only in the local area. This would allow these exhibitors getting a reward, getting a title for showing a worthy kitten who probably would not, who would definitely not make it an original winner in a regional standing because the exhibitor is not willing to travel enough. Taking as example Italy, we put on 3 shows a year, generally November, January, and April. Within that, most of them are located in northern Italy and within 200 kilometers driving distance from exhibitors. So an exhibitor could join these shows. We usually put on 6-ring shows. That requirement makes the show attractive for the championship. So an exhibitor should join 6 rings when the kitten is 4 months old and 6 rings when the kitten is 7 months old. You need to achieve 10 finals out of these 12 rings, and can be a demanding task for a kitten 4 months old. So at least for Italy, and I believe for Europe in general, this is not a trivial achievement. It's not an easy achievement. It's not a participation trophy, as well as it's not the same for the championship title. We did not rule out the championship title. We added shaders, sorry. We did not stop at the original winner grand champion. You can go ahead, show your cat for 2 more seasons and get a grand or distinction. That is the point of our proposal. Convincing more exhibitors to show their kittens. Our experience tells us that these exhibitors are returning. Once they get involved in the process, they are happier to come and to join our shows. They keep on asking. After our last show, January 2020, exhibitors keep on asking us, even during the pandemic, when were we planning to hold our next show, which is going to be November 2021. But people kept on asking us, and we are happy about this. This is pretty flattering for us. Flattering, sorry, for us, not flattering. Flattering for us. So this is the point. Offering a title for kitten, an intermediate title between nothing and a regional winner. 3 main points. More entries and revenues for the club, more options and titles for the exhibitor, more business and revenues for CFA. Basically, this is my point. Thank you.
Thank you. Brad Newcomb, you have your hand up.
No, sorry, Daryl, that's inadvertent. I can't.
Okay, no problem. Mary Kay, you're recognized.
Mary Kalenchek, Lilac Point Fanciers and United Color Point Short Hair Fanciers. I am very sensitive to trying to increase kitten counts because yes, we would love to increase kitten counts everywhere. Kitten counts in the US are very seasonal. We have low because of how cats breed, but I've run kittens that I swear to gosh, if it weren't that time of the season, I would have gotten national wins on them, but the counts were too low. And I understand wanting to get more people with kittens into the shows, but this title as written is trivial to achieve. It even says in the rationale, it says that the target for this title could be met in 2 or 3 shows. Why are we creating a title that could be met so easily, just making finals could be met in 2 or 3 shows? And in the US, we have a lot of 10-ring and 6x6 shows. This title is going to be met very easily by lots of cats in the US. And as written, it applies to all regions of CFA, all areas of CFA, not just the ID. I would have liked to seen something. I mean, I don't know why you can't propose a title just for the ID based on your particular circumstances, but this one as written, it's just so trivial. I can't support something that is so easily achieved.
Okay, Sue Robbins.
Hi, Sue Robbins, Delaware River Cats Club. I am somewhat in agreement with Mary Kay. And also, what my feeling is, it's not T-ball. You know, just because you show up does not mean that you should win an award. And yes, there are incremental steps that have been offered for this. I mean, with numbers of wins and numbers of finals achieved. But rather than making it a broad-based CFA award, which really has a very low threshold for this particular award, I wonder why you can't do something like a kitten sweepstakes with all of the clubs in your particular country, whether it be Italy or France or Germany or whatever, and combining with the clubs to hold a sweepstakes and present the top 3 kittens with trophies, and or 5, depending upon how the numbers of kittens that you get into your shows. I would think that this would also offer an incentive without having to create another CFA regional, international, national, whatever level award.
Okay, Cristiano?
And mute.
Yep.
The point is, the award can be reached in 2 or 3 shows, but what we expect without this award, without this title, that kitten and that exhibitor would not even join those 2 or 3 shows. So if you really want to support showing kittens, showing more kittens, this would definitely work in Italy and Region 9, and hopefully could lure in some more exhibitors even in regions 1 to 7, even though you can have 1 to 10 rings show every weekend within 3 hours travel. But how many of those kittens are getting a regional winner? Maybe some of those exhibitors, besides kitten training, would be willing to show more or enter more kittens with a title they could achieve even without getting the top 25 kittens of the region. I believe that could work. This would definitely be helpful in Italy and Region 9 overall. And I guess it could work and bring in more exhibitors, even in more mature areas for CFA. So if you want to support showing more kittens in our shows, seeing more kittens in our shows, my opinion is and our opinion as a club, I hope many other clubs share this opinion, we need to grant a title and try to offer something as well as we did with champions and championship. Offer a graded title between nothing and a regional winner to lure in more exhibitors. This proposal aims at supporting showing more kittens. This is the basic reason why we are making this proposal. Supporting and obtaining more kittens joining our shows.
Thank you, Leslie Carr. You're recognized.
Thank you, Leslie Carr, Rome Cat Forum. I have a question. I'm not opposed completely to everything, but I don't understand. I show in regions 1 to 7. From looking at show reports for region 9, which I know this is where this is originating, your kitten counts are pretty close to the normal show in regions 1 to 7. But it sounds like you're saying that you can't get any kitten count without there being a title to go along with it. That you don't have an issue with the championship or premiership because there are titles in both of those classes, but that because there are no titles associated with kittens, your exhibitors won't enter a cat until it's an adult. Am I understanding correctly that this is strictly for you to be able to increase your kitten counts to, I don't know what numbers? That's all.
Thank you, Cristiano.
Looking at the show report for show season 1920, which was a very peculiar one due to the pandemic, 44 Gatti had the highest count in championship worldwide with a count of 102, which was our last show, January 2019. But we are always falling much shorter in a kitten class. Our point could be trying to push the kitten count higher to 60, 70, 80 kittens in a show. We are working hard to get more shows, more count, and a higher count in our shows, and most of it means convincing exhibitors from other associations to join our shows. We're not aiming at CFA established exhibitors. Those already join our shows, but there are not many, unfortunately, in Italy as much as they could. We are aiming at exhibitors from other associations. This would bring in exhibitors from other associations in our shows. Hopefully, this is what I hope, even in other regions, this kind of title could induce some exhibitors showing their kitten, even though they have a 10-ring show in every weekend in a very close range, but that kitten they don't expect that kitten to be in the top 25 of the region. This is definitely helpful for Region 9 and for Region 9 in Italy in particular, but I believe this could work worldwide. Our exhibitors, giving more options, giving more opportunities to our exhibitors is helpful and will be appreciated, I guess, from our exhibitors, as well as we did with the championship, bronze, silver, golden. We made this to reward exhibitors showing a cat who's struggling to get a grand champion, but who's worthy. And the exhibitor is willing to show as he knows his progress is acknowledged. That's the point, supporting, showing more kittens.
Okay, Frederick Godier. You're muted, Frederick.
Okay. Well, I think this is a very interesting award, and I think we should give a try because it will absolutely attract new exhibitors for a couple of shows, and maybe they will go on in the future. It's difficult to evaluate what is the right number of rings, and I think this is a proposal, and we can adjust in the future, even increase the number of rings necessary to get this award in the future. But I think we should give a try because everywhere in all regions of CFA and even in the international division, that will improve our kitten counts promptly. I'm definitely sure about that.
Okay, thank you, Frederick. Bob Clark, you're recognized.
Hello, folks. This is Bob Clark from Empire Cat Club. I agree with what Frederick just said, and I also agree with what Cristiano was saying. Spectators like kittens. If we are to grow the number of people participating in CFA, I think we have to bring spectators in and have spectators get interested and then wanting to show their own cat, be it HHP or Primera Championship. They like kittens. People like to see kittens. I also think showing kittens regularly leads to cats that are better adjusted for the show ring when they're later on champions or premieres. Anything we can do to encourage people to bring their kittens to more shows, I think leads to cats that will show better later in life. So I don't see a downside to this. I see a couple of upsides. I don't see a real downside. So I think we should give it a try. I see no reason not to.
Thank you, Bob. Dorta?
Yes, Dörte Händel, German Catwalk from Germany. Our club will support this idea because it's not only to have the count higher of the kittens. Our point of view in our club, and we discussed it very carefully, is kitten time to show kitten is very short, and the only title you really can reach is the regional win or the national win, and they are reserved to the top 25. So I think we should give all the others also a chance to have a small title also for a kitten. This is why the main reason why we support this.
Thank you, Dorta. Jill? You're muted.
Jill Sullivan from Mocan Cat Club. I support this because I think that it might bring in new exhibitors. And if you try to start a cat after they're on a build, you have less success. So if we want to build our exhibitor base, even in the US, I think that adding a kitten title and possibly offering the kittens easier success might be a good added benefit for all of our regions.
Okay, thank you, Clinton Parker.
Clinton Parker, Tonkinese East Cat Club. I just have a question about the about one of the points in here with the TRN. I know they changed the TRN thing to add kittens to it, and the TRN basically says if after you get the TRN, if you don't get the permanent registration within after 60 days, you can no longer show the kitten if you don't get a permanent registration number of a kitten. I have a little problem with that because we've been through this, requiring registrations and not requiring registrations for kittens. And I think although it's probably not an unlikely, it's probably a more technical problem, I really just don't see why we should be going back again to saying that you've got to have a registration number for the kittens. But it's not a big deal. I realize to score this, you're going to have a registration number, but it does add a little bit. It adds some extra. It adds some extra issues in for people who have the problem that it could result in having actual fewer number of kittens entered again in shows. That's it.
Thank you, Clinton. Okay, Cristiano, you want to close this down, close it up? Oh, hang on, let Frederick respond. Second time, Frederick. You're muted.
Frederick, are you going or am I going?
Frederick.
Okay, I go briefly. Frederick Godert, Jardin des Corates and Catart. I think the TRN question is not an issue at all because it will even push the people to register, because if you don't register, you don't get any title. So this question is also giving us a way to attract and make the people register the kittens even more.
Thank you.
So,
okay. Kathy Black.
Yes, one of the problems I had with this was it was talking about the count in each ring, which would require the clerk in each ring to announce the kitten count so the people going for this award would know if their kitten qualified or not. And we don't currently do that. We normally just count the number of kittens present based on the largest number. That's what the master clerk reports. But this says the ring would not count unless the kittens present were at least a certain number, which means that each ring would have to be counted separately. So I have a problem with this, and my club has decided not to support this. I think that I understand the rationale behind it, but I just think it's problematic as it's written.
Kristen.
It is, the count is stated, is from the proposal is stated count by show. Basically, it happens the same as in Italy. We got many TRNs for newbies. Happens when doing the paperwork, you believe you granted your cat, and maybe you transferred open champion to grand champion on Sunday morning, and then you find out from the show report that some of those TRNs had been voided because paperwork was not accurate, because exhibitors, newbies, just don't know how to arrange their pedigrees, how to provide how to complete the 5 generations after they provided 4 to the entry clerk for the TRN. And so you find out from the show report that your cat actually didn't grant. And unfortunately, I can tell you this happened because this happened to my cats too. So you find out the count after the show. You join the show and show your kitten. If the count is at least 20 in your breed, or long hair or short hair for specialty finals, then that ring can be counted on the award. But it's not the entry clerk, the master clerk or the clerk who needs to do that. It is central office scoring the title, who checks the show, checks the count, and scores rings. It is not a task, a burden on the shoulders of the clerk or the master clerk.
Thank you, Kristen.
Yes, nobody has raised the fact that there's going to be a programming issue that will need to be addressed
State
in
your
order
name
to
and
take.
club. State your
Oh,
name.
pardon me. Yes, Kristen Knoll, Devon Rex Breed Club. And at least according to the proposal from central office, they made a comment, it would cost $10,000 to $13,000 to modify programming in order to include the title. And that's not an insignificant amount of money, but just something that should be mentioned.
Okay, Kathy Black, your hand's up for a second time.
I apologize. I forgot to announce my club, Kathy Black, Texoma Cat Fanciers.
Thank you, Lee Dowding.
Lee Dowding, Abyssinian Breeders International and Poinsettia City Cat Club. The problem I have with this is that the title is KW. KW implies it's on the same level as NW, BW, or RW, and it definitely is not at that same level. So I would possibly be more in favor of it if you gave it a different name that doesn't make it look like one of the highest titles our association gives.
Thank you, Mary Kay, you're recognized.
Yes, Mary Kalenchek, Lilac Point Fanciers and United Color Point Short Hair Fanciers. I hope that everybody realizes the last line of this says the title will be placed after the cat's name. So not only is this KW going to look like an RW, an NW, or BW, but it's being placed after the cat's name where the DM goes. So I just really have to object to this title.
Okay, thank you. Jill Sullivan, do you want to speak again? And Lee, your hand's still up.
No, thank you.
Okay, Lee, your hand's still up. Okay, Sue Robbins for, I think this is your second time.
Yes, it is. Sue Robbins, Delaware River Cats Club. I think the idea and the rationale is very good, but I think the proposal needs some more work. Again, like I mentioned before, it still does not preclude cats, the clubs getting together, and they can give a top 1 through 10 Italy title. Best kittens of Italy, or best kittens of France, or best Southern Europe, however, you would want to define that as kind of like a kitten sweepstake. But if you are looking about adding another title, I agree that it needs to be something other than KW and not after the cat's name. Maybe it would be something like KC, like Kitten Champion or something like that. But whatever, I think it needs to go back to committee and have more discussion.
Okay, Susan, you can speak.
Yeah, do I have the floor back?
Yes, you do.
Thank you so much. I just think that it needs to be thought out a little better and presented a little bit sharper and a little bit cleaner. I don't object to wanting to award kittens a title other than regional winner, as an intermediary kind of title. But I think what it's called and how it's done needs some more work.
Okay, thank you. Sybil, you're recognized. Go ahead.
Okay, Sybil Zayden, Siamese Fanciers and Titletown Cat Fanciers from Wisconsin. I agree with what Kathy Black had to say, and I also agree with Lee Dowding. Just wanted to make that point.
Okay, thank you. All right, Cristiano, can you give us a brief wrap up, please? We've been on this quite a while.
I understand the points about, some are quite formal, but actually they need to be stated in the show rules. The kitten, the title goes at the end, goes before the name of the kitten. It is to be a kitten winner rather than a kitten champion. These are points we could look into, but basically this was the formulation we came up after a confrontation within the club and with some other clubs. So this was the best option we achieved after confrontations with other clubs.
Okay, thank you, Cristiano.
Stays the point support our aim is supporting, showing more kittens. We could give it a try this way, then we'll see if we can fine tune it later, but we would give it a try this way because we need to provide title for kittens. This would be very helpful in trying to getting more kittens shown and more exhibitors. This is our proposal. I really hope you support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Debate's closed. Voting is open. We've announced all the votes so far.
Yes.
All right, let's move on. Resolution 13. And this is Bingle Alliance on Almost Heaven. Who's speaking on this one?
It's Lorna Fremont,
Hi, Lorna.
and I'm from Almost Heaven Cat Fanciers.
Okay,
Sorry, I'm just trying to make my video on for you.
there you go.
All right. All right. Number 14. This proposed show rule resolution would allow, sorry, we're at 13, aren't we?
Yeah,
Huh.
13.
All right. Sorry. This proposed show rule resolution would allow the hanging of additional champion ribbons in class judging based on the number of opens and champions entered when applicable. The award permanent ribbon or rosette may be any color. The additional champion awards will be awarded when the number of champion open entries are as follows. 0 through 5, there's 1 best champion award. 6 through 10, best and second best champion awards. 11 through 15, best through third best champion awards. 16 through 20, best through fourth best champion awards. And more than 20, best through fifth best champion awards. We've proposed this because we are starting to see increasing numbers of cats return to the show rings. The additional placement in class could give recognition to those breeders working hard to get their cats out in numbers and award grand points to those cats that may not make a final. We feel this would encourage people to continue to show their cats beyond the championship title.
Okay. So debate is open on this motion. Joan?
Yes, Joan Freidenberg from Superstition Cat Fanciers. I just have a question on this. This entire show rule indicates champion / premier, but the changes that are proposed are for champions only. I would like to know why the premiers were not included in the change.
Sure. This is actually my second time proposing this. The first year, the champion only awards were voted by more than 50% by the floor, but not ratified by the board. But the champion and premier proposal failed. So I brought back the one that had more support at the time with the changes that were made by the delegation.
Okay. Monty? Oh, I'm sorry, Tyler Deal.
Hello, Tyler Deal, Ohio State Persian Club. I'd like to speak in support of this one. Just a month ago or so, we were at the Greater Lancaster Feline Fanciers class, and there was a championship class of 16 Cornish Rex. And if I remember correctly, only one of them was a grand. And so in that case, we were only able to award championship points to one of those 15 open or champion Cornish Rex. And I feel that if there are going to be that many cats in a class, they should be rewarded as such. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. Monty Phillips, you're recognized.
Yeah, Monty Phillips, Catting on the Fox. Just a comment for those of you, especially who are master clerks. Does this now mean we need to announce a count by breed for every breed that's being shown at the show? Just a heads up, be prepared.
Okay. Let's see, Tim Schreck, you're recognized. You're muted, Tim. Ellen, can you unmute Tim? There you go.
Got it now?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. A couple of things I wanted to point out here. One,
Oh,
as
Tim,
we
club
continue
name.
to, hello?
Club name. Name and club name.
Oh, Tim Schreck, Southeastern Michigan. A couple of things I wanted to point out as we continue to add more awards and give people points for more recognition for points. We keep making it quicker for people to actually achieve the title that they're looking for. And these type of changes in the past has actually led to less cats at our shows, not more. The second thing I want to point out in here is it states that you are to get 1 point for each cat defeated, which is not the current scoring system. And we're only doing this for one class for championship only, not premieres. So now we have a different scoring system for different classes, which will really lead to quite a bit of confusion and probably more costs than what's estimated on here.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Clinton Parker.
Yeah, I'm not in favor. I agree with what Tim just said, but I would like to point out the resolution does say based on entry, so it wouldn't require the master clerk announcing counts. But there are a lot of problems with this, especially the 1 point for each one, because we usually go down in 10% increments for in like at international shows, or if we go and make a final. So I don't know why you should be getting more points in class. So I think there's some good points about this, but as it exists, I just don't think it's valid.
Okay, Mary Kay.
Mary Klanchek, Lilac Point Fanciers, to address what Monty said about the master clerk announcing this. The master clerk does not announce the count for the purple ribbon, brown ribbon, or orange ribbon currently for each breed. So why would anybody even dream to expect that they would announce that for this? That's my only comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mary Kay. Loretta Baugh.
Yes, the first comment I want to make is that quantity doesn't mean quality. When we first eliminated winners ribbons and had cats qualify, we would have litters come into the ring, into the show, and all would qualify and all would get their winners ribbons. We saw maybe one of them back. It is going to reduce the number of cats. I mean, a championship doesn't mean anything basically anymore because it's so easy to get. And we're just adding more points for a grand when we do this. I don't think we need to go there. We used to have classes where this is a competition and we need to be putting the best cats forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Loretta. Laura Gregory, you're recognized.
I think some of us are confusing the point system here. We're talking about the points in breed, and presently when you receive a best champion, if you don't actually make a final, you are getting the number of cats you defeated. It's not a percentage. If there's 5 champions in the breed, and you receive the best champion ribbon, you do get 4 points. You defeated 4 cats if you're not in a final. It's only the finals that are percentages. So this is not going to change the way that scoring percentage is. Still the same way it is now. All it's going to do is allow for another best champion and a second best champion and so on within the breed. So I think it is a good idea. I do support this, especially with the example you just gave with if you have a class of 20 Cornish Rex, and there's certainly a lot of times there's quality that can certainly warrant another purple ribbon. Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody, don't forget, take your hand down and unmute your mic or mute your mic after you're done talking. Carissa, you're recognized.
Carissa Ulcho, Land of Oz, and Hugger Mugger. Unfortunately, I from the previous speaker, when you get the purple ribbon, you get 100% of points available, which does turn out to be 1 point per cat. But if you get the orange ribbon, you are getting a percentage. It's 95% for your regional national points. So we do use a percentage for pretty much every award. It just may look like we don't because we currently only award best champion. I'm really in support of awarding more champion ribbons. I've been a a big supporter of this, but not as this is written. I don't think we should have two different ways of scoring our cats. We shouldn't go by cat in division, but by percentage in the final. That is too confusing. It is hard enough to explain our point system to a new breeder as it is. It needs to be consistent. Championship or grand points, regardless, should be in 10% increments, and regional national points are in 5% increments. Right now, that's how it works, both in division, breed, and finals, and that's how it needs to stay. So unfortunately, the way it is written, just can't support it.
Thank you, Chris. So,
Very well said.
okay, everybody, if you're not actively speaking, please mute your microphones because it causes feedback. Jill, Tim, can you mute your microphones, please? Vicky Nye, you're recognized.
Hi. Though I'm not opposed to recognizing additional quality in the class, numbers is not always the best example of where the quality is, as Loretta noted. But I also wanted to mention this would require redoing our breed sheets and adding extra columns, and it would have to be the maximum number for everyone, whether they were achieving that or not. And also the entry clerk program, everybody's entry clerk programs would need to be reworked to include all those extra lines for, if there were 16 through 20, they would have to have at least 4 lines for champion wins. Oh, Vicky Nice, Suncat Feline Fanciers, sorry.
Okay, Brad Newcomb, you're recognized.
Thank you, Daryl. Brad Newcomb, Triple Crown Cat Fanciers. Just a couple points. I agree with what Loretta said about quality, not quantity. You have several classes that you will get, maybe 15 cats, and that doesn't necessarily mean all 15 of those cats are fantastic. But then there are other times you may only get 3 or 4 cats in a class, then all 3 or 4 of them are absolutely drop dead. We've seen it many times. There have been many times you went to a show where your top 3 long hairs were all 3 Maine Coons, and they came out of a class of 4. And, you've seen it in short hairs. So I agree with what Loretta said wholeheartedly, that it is about quality, not quantity. And I also agree with what Carissa said. When you look at the numbers, you're not scoring on a fair scale if you do that. You have some classes that will never, ever in that breed get more than 2 or 3. And you have some that may get 20, but you may only have 2 or 3 that are worthy of even looking at. So it's not a fair scale when you look at it at that point. Other than that, I think we do need to keep and maintain, we have one scoring system. We don't need to muddy the waters by figuring out how we're going to start scoring cats based on an in class. I don't disagree with what Lorna said about finding ways to increase, but I think that needs to be on a whole scale. Maybe once you get above so many champions in the show, not just in the class, you look at adding a 4th or a 5th based on what it is entered in the entire show, like we do with the World Show or some of our largest shows. I would not be opposed to something like that, but right now as it's written, I wouldn't support this either. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Clinton Parker, you're recognized.
Clinton Parker's Tonkinese East. I just want to point out, as the author of one of the entry clerk programs, this isn't really an issue for entry clerk software. It's kind of already had the support in for doing international show, multiple. Basically, we do this as an international show, so it's not something that's new. I can't speak for CFA's program, but as I said, I do have a lot of problems with the 1 point and the other issues. So I just want to make, for the people who are in favor, of tell you it isn't really an issue for, I don't think that big of an issue for the entry clerk software stuff. But as I said, I'm not in favor because of the other issues.
Thank you, Clinton. Joan, do you have another comment to make? Your hand's up. Okay, Brad.
Sorry, that was unintentional.
Okay, Brad, you have another comment to make?
No, sorry, I must have hit my button twice. I thought I.
Okay, all right. So Lorna, would you make a closing statement?
Sure, I just wanted to thank everyone that spoke in favor of this, and for Clinton for clarifying that there is no additional fees for entry clerking software. The fees noted for changing the scoring system on CFA's end are on the amendment as $11,000 to $14,000, and the CFA did realize quite a healthy profit for the last fiscal year. So I would like to not have the monetary deterrent. And Brad, if you like that idea, stay tuned for number 16.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Lauren. Okay, debate is closed. Voting is open now.
I can announce 11.
Okay, and
Or sorry, 12.
Yeah, Rachel's going to announce number 12.
Number 12 was the kitten win issue. It received 58 yes votes and did not achieve the 2/3 minimum requirement.
Okay, so the motion is not agreed to. Okay, Lauren, I think the next one's yours also.
It is. Number 14. This proposed show rule resolution would allow cats who have left the show hall after posted show hours to retain awards from finals after the advertised show hours. The changes are that an entry must be present for class judging. When an entry has been removed from the show hall during advertised show hours, it is ineligible for a finals award. When a final takes place after the close of advertised show hours, if a cat chosen for the final is no longer present in the show hall, the judge will hang its award on an empty cage. Entries chosen for a final that is posted after advertised show hours are eligible to retain the points for that final, even if they have left the show hall. According to show rule 501G, flyers are to list the hour judging will begin, the advertised hour of closing. So simply stating until finals have completed is not an hour of closing. Often exhibitors and the judges alike have travel schedules that cannot be altered. At the very least, this amendment will make show management, judges, and exhibitors more focused on time constraints when planning and producing shows, and will allow exhibitors the choice of leaving the show if the finals continue past the closing time without penalty. If the club knows they're having a trainee at their show, they can then rate the advertised show hours for exhibitors extended as needed. Clubs also have the option of having a spectator show hours and exhibitor show hours advertised on their show flyers. To us, this is just part of the club's job in providing good customer service.
Thank you. Mary Kay, you're recognized.
Mary Klenchek, Lilac Point Fanciers, and I am very much in favor of this. And anybody who's ever had a cat in a final knows that the judge can change the order of the final once the cats are present. Knowing this, I don't know about the rest of you, but if this passes, I'm still not leaving the hall before the last final for my cats because I don't want the judge moving my cat to the bottom just because I'm not there. So I think we're still going to see a lot of people still hanging around in the show hall to make sure the judges see them there. But seriously, we should pass this, if only because it will inspire judges who don't want to hang on empty cages to finish before the closing, and will inspire clubs to set appropriate closing hours for exhibitors and to keep the show moving along. If a judge does not want to face the absolute horror of hanging a rosette on an empty cage at 7:30 at night, then get done on time. It's that easy. And if a judge can be done early for an early flight on Sunday, like, you know, sometimes they're out of there at 3 o'clock, they got to be out. We're all told, you know, we got to get the judge out of here. Then perhaps the exhibitors deserve the same treatment. We just don't want to be in the show hall at 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night waiting on a slow ring.
Thank you, Mary Kay. Monty Phillips.
Monty Phillips, Cat on the Fox. I hate to say this, but this rule is easy to get around. I know exactly what our next show flyer would look like. Advertised show hours, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay, Clinton Parker, you're recognized.
Clinton Parker, Tonkinese East. I'm agreeing with Monty. I look at this as just being disaster. I understand the idea. You know, I'm one of those exhibitors getting airplanes, and you got to, sometimes you can't get a flight that's real late in the evening to get out of the show hall, so you kind of can bite your teeth. But there's all sorts of problems. I mean, as Monty said, what the clubs are going to do, the same thing they did with other rules of this kind of nature. All they're going to do is make advertised show hours a lot later in the flyers. And what's that going to do? Well, you have other show rules that says you lose points if you leave the show before advertised show hours. But if you're not potentially going to be in the final, you made a final in another ring that's already done. This puts a lot of other problems on exhibitors that are almost guaranteed to happen, because clubs are going to put their advertised show hours up. Because what happens? Look at this back-to-back 12-ring show. A lot of times you have collision with the judges when they finish judging their championship class or whatever. So what do? They say, we're going to put our finals on later. What do you wind up doing? Have four finals at the end of the day. When are those finals? After show hours, almost guaranteed, the way it is right now, because most of the show hours are like published to 4. So what the clubs are going to do is push the flow hours out later, so those exhibitors are not going to leave the show hall. It just makes matters worse. It doesn't solve the problem.
Thank you, Clinton. Eileen, you're recognized. Jasnitsky.
Aileen Shapnitsky, Turkish Angora Fanciers International. I kind of can also make the opposite argument Monty did, but in both of them against this, because now are we going to start to have some mission creep where we have our advertised hours from 9 to 2, and then that way our exhibitors can all scoot out as soon as they want to? You know, and once we start this, is it going to get more and more? I trust our judges. Our judges, for the most part, all finish on time. They're responsible, they do their flights, and exhibitors know how long shows take. So if you book travel that doesn't work for you to stay to the end of the show, that's on you. The other thing is, I've experienced this hanging ribbons on no cage, and I know everybody's going to argue that spectators don't stay. The fact of the matter is, there's always spectators walking around while you're tearing down the show hall, right? I'm watching finals where there's tons of spectators looking at the cages, and there's 2 cats and 10 rosettes. That doesn't promote our hobby. That doesn't promote our breeds. It doesn't promote our brand.
You finished, Eileen?
Yes.
Thank you. Mary Alth, you're recognized.
I'm going to address this from the standpoint of a judge. And I have a couple of problems with it, but largely I think this rule is trying to be written to cater to the campaigners, who are the ones most likely to have come in on an airplane. And I think it's unfair and almost insulting to all of those people who choose to wait till the very end to leave. It doesn't give the judge an opportunity to say anything about the cat. And then also the rule that as it's written, it says the judge will hang its award on an empty cage. I think I would like to have the option that I can choose to put it on an empty cage, or handle it the way it is now, where we can mark that cat absent and move everybody up. But I think from the perspective of a judge, I really find this kind of insulting. If you entered the show and you can't get out, that's kind of on you. Plus, the shows aren't as big as they used to be. A judge surely can get done. I know some don't, but that you just got to get done. That's part of your job as a hired help, to get done in the time allotted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Auth, Fanciers United for Fun.
Thank you. Loretta Baugh.
About Canusa Cat Club. I'm going to speak as both an exhibitor and a judge, because I campaigned for 2 years previously. With proper training and proper experience, there is no reason why a judge can't finish on time. And I think this may help to be an incentive for them to do that. As an exhibitor, I don't leave till the last final is over, and I usually drive. And many times I'm sitting there waiting for a driving judge. It's not necessarily an airline connection. And I think the opportunity to be able to do this, I do not think that it would be abused. I think that most of the people want to have people there when they're hanging their when the judges are hanging their ribbons. I sat at a National Capital show one time showing a kitten. 7:30 at night, there was no one in the show hall. And the judge said, "This is National Capital, I have to take everyone out." We just want it out of there. I think this will allow for some common sense, and I'm definitely supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Vanetis.
Hi, Venatus Crawford, Tar Heel, Triangle Cat Fanciers, Mid-Atlantic, Persian and Hemi. I think we really need to look at this as there's several shades of gray here. Yes, I think any rule can be worked around. Any rule can be abused. Yes, one of my first thoughts was, okay, show flyers are going to say, okay, our show hours run until midnight. Well, nobody is going to enter a show if they're starting to see that sort of behavior. I mean, we have to think that both of our exhibitors and our club members and our judges are going to be trying to do the right thing. I am very much in support of this rule because the thing is, there are times when stuff happens. This is not meant to be something that is a general rule that everybody's going to be hanging on 8, 9, 10 empty cages. And the example that I'd like to bring forward was the Knoxville show this past show season. Due to an excessive amount of rain, read it that we had flooding almost going to the building and rain pouring into the building where they had to physically move rings. And they ended up having to delay judging by several hours. We showed that we were sitting in that show hall for several hours past the advertised show hours. There obviously, because of COVID, there were no exhibitors to even be worried about, but there were a lot of people that they may not have necessarily had flights, but they had very, very long drives, had to work early on Monday morning. And they ended up, sometimes possibly even dragging in where they didn't even see their bed that night before having to go to work. It would be doing our exhibitors a service to say, look, these were our show hours. We've gone beyond for whatever reason. I do agree that putting this in place for some of our judges that may not be as cognizant on time, to maybe force them to be more cognizant on their judging timing and scheduling. But especially when you just have situations that are beyond the control of anyone, to say, look, we understand, do it and move on, and we're not breaking any rules.
Thank you. Vicky Nye, you're recognized.
Hi, Vicky Nye, Suncat Feline Fanciers. I like this concept. However, I can't support this as it's written. 1126 section C, where it says will hang an award. I would prefer that say may. There are a number of judges that write their finals on another sheet and do not rank those cats until they come up into the ring. And I don't want them to not be able to have the opportunity to look and compare cats back and forth. Most of the shows I judge are 6-ring shows, and you cannot get cats for a second look or anything else during the day. To impede another ring is really impossible nowadays, to call cats up out of order. Additionally, with the 6-ring shows, we typically have 3 or 4 all breed finals at the end of the day, and you're banging up against all the other judges with your finals numbers. Oftentimes late finishes are, even if a judge does move at the speed of light, are beyond their control because of show scheduling, late starts, cats not getting to the ring, PA systems that don't work great. So I would actually prefer if this said may hang its award on an empty cage. I've had instances where I've had exhibitors come up to my clerk and say, the weather is deteriorating where I live. I would like to get on an earlier flight. I don't know if the judge is using my cat. I don't mind if somebody asks if I can hang a cat out of order, I will do so, but that's at my option. I don't want to feel obligated to have empty cages if I'm the last all breed ring to do my final in a day and everybody is taken off because they want to get on the road. Thank you.
Vicky, can everybody sort of shorten up their comments a little bit? We want to get through all these resolutions today. So Lori Conklin, you're recognized.
Hi, I
first I need to acknowledge that things happen. You know, there are floods, there are
Name and
storms.
club name.
Sorry, Lori Coughlin, Greater Lancaster Feline Fanciers. I got wrapped up in trying to be fast.
Thank you.
Stuff happens. But a lot of the reasons the shows run late are things within our management, but we're not doing it. And we haven't done it for many years. Shows need to start on time. The schedules need to be properly written. The show manager needs to manage. And the judges deserve the respect of being told what the expectation is when they're supposed to finish and maybe be reminded that they're falling a little behind schedule. All that said, it is incredibly disrespectful to our exhibitors when you have a show of 140 cats that runs until 7:30 at night. In the last 4 shows I've been to, 3 of them, I was in the show hall until after 7, and it's only been one judge holding everyone up. This is not fair to the exhibitor. I am not a flyer. I drive. So it's not me, the evil campaigner, trying to do things my way. It's just not fair that you should have to spend another night in a hotel. You should have to arrive home at 3 in the morning and go to work the next day, etc. We need to show respect for our exhibitors' time. And since nothing else seems to have worked, I totally support this as the next step.
Thank you, Jennifer. You're recognized.
Jennifer Hare, Rebel Rousers. As an exhibitor, I agree with Vicky that it should not be will. I think it should be may, and the judge should have an opportunity to change the cats that are in her final. I think that when I present my cat to a final, he should be in as good a condition as I presented him for class judging, because they should take a second look at them when they rank their cats. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cristiano. You're recognized.
We are supporting this proposal. I personally, as an exhibitor, I missed a flight from China to Europe to stay till the last award was handed in Chengdu. So I know what it means. It was, the show stretched, I guess, 3 or 4 hours longer than advertised on the flyer, but that was worth it, and I did that. And as a show organizer, as a show organizing club, we appreciate exhibitors staying inside the show hall till the end of the advertised showing time. But after the advertised showing time, you just stretch 30 minutes. You just make sure in the advertised show hours, but you make sure the show ends within the advertised hour. So we are supporting this. I understand as an exhibitor, sometimes something messes up in the show. Show manager needs to manage, as I heard. Anyway, after the advertised time, you advertise the showing hours properly. Exhibitors could have to leave. If some can stay, I believe it is respectful for the judge for them to stay, and they are experienced enough to know they should stay even if the show hours is over. But if they definitely need to leave, I understand, and they should be allowed to decide. That's why I'm supporting. Actually, it's not every exhibitor leaves the show hall. Exhibitors decide on their own if you want to stay or if they can afford staying longer or not, then advertise show hours.
Thank you, Chris.
We have exhibitors who think they're not, they just don't simply read show hours. That's why I'm supporting.
State your name and your club you're representing, Cristiano.
Beg your pardon, you're right. Cristiano Perillo Marcone, 44 Gatti Cat Club.
Thank you. Loretta.
Loretta Blood, Canusa Cat Club. 2 quick comments. I think we need to encourage our judges to be willing to let cats out of the ring for a final. There are a fair number of judges on our panel that will not release a cat until they're done. And the other comment I wanted to make is scheduling. I don't know how many clubs schedule use the exact same schedule show after show, and don't look at the number of entries in each different category. And that, I think, is a real problem, because you end up going to a show and you have 2 finals in the morning, and they're all, the rest of the 4 of them are in the evening. I think spreading finals out would help as well. Thank you.
Say your name and club.
She did.
Okay, good. Okay, Jackie Bennett, you're recognized.
Jackie Bennett, Ossa Cats International, Ragamuffin Cat Fanciers. As a show manager, as an exhibitor, and as a judge, I agree with the sentiment behind this, but I have one word in this proposal which I cannot support, and that is the word will. I would be happy as a judge to have the option of hanging on an empty cage, may hang on an empty cage. But sometimes I have 15 cats that would easily fit in that top 10. And if I have an opportunity to
fair.
bring, Well, excuse me?
I'm
Would
gonna
somebody
call those
like to?
comments out of order. If there's anyone that needs to mute themselves when they are not recognized, please do so.
Everybody should be muted except the speaker.
Once again, as a judge, often I have more cats written down for a final than I have spaces in that final. And I may be deciding by a single hair which one is my 10th or 11th. I may choose to maintain that, or I may choose to bring another cat, but don't force that decision on me. Make it the judge's discretion. That's the one word, and I'm sorry if you don't consider it fair. Thank you.
So if you've spoken and you're not wanting to speak again, please lower your hands. The last 5 speakers still have their hands up. Sue, you're recognized.
Well, one of the things I think that, can help move things along is exhibitors getting to the ring at the time of their call. I mean, we all know that there are exhibitors who wait until the 3rd and a half or 4th call before they get up there with their cats. Sue Robbins, Delaware River Cats Club, sorry about that. So, it's multiple reasons why it runs late. Some are foreseeable, some are not. Much of them are human intervention. So I think if we are all more cognizant and get our cats up to the ring, judges judge in a reasonable amount of time, clerks move the rings along, everybody goes home a little happier. And if there is an act of God like a flood, well, then sometimes you just have to tough it out. Thank you.
Thank you. Venatus, you wanting to speak again?
Yes, I did. Thank you. Venatus Crawford, Tar Heel Triangle Cat Fanciers, Mid-Atlantic Persian. And Hemi, I just want to address the issue that keeps coming up of may versus will. And I'd like to reflect it back on comments regarding, okay, we've got bad behavior of certain clubs that they're now going to say that show hours are very late. Not that I am saying anything disrespectful to any of our judging panel, but we all know also perception is reality. If we don't make it a restrictive will, then if a judge can say willy-nilly, okay, in this case, I'm going to use the cat or hang on empty, whereas no, this time I'm not, I'm going to decide to bring somebody else up. What is the perception going to be from the exhibitors that, oh, this cat is owned by a friend of this judge, and this judge is making this decision because of this cat being known, this cat being a friend, this cat being whatever. So I tend to be very supportive of the will versus may. That's
Okay,
it.
Go ahead. Jackie Bennett. Jackie Bennett,
I don't have my hand up.
your hand is up.
It says it's down. I'm sorry. Let me try pushing it again.
Okay, Steve McCullough.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to call the question. Belcare Cat Club.
Okay, well, let's let Lorna make a closing comment.
Thank you. As listening to all these comments, it's not just campaigners that fly. Many exhibitors do not have local shows, especially our West Coast friends and those other areas that don't have shows right now. So I really, I take a bit of offense to that, not, and also if a judge had a cat that was absent from their final, there's nothing preventing you from making the absent cat 10th best cat. That's all.
Okay, thank you. We're going to close the vote on 13. And Rachel,
That
you,
was, 14, I think.
that was 14, but we're closing on 13.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you're
Okay,
correct.
if you'll announce 13's vote.
Proposal number 13 regarding champion placements received 75 yes votes. It did not achieve the 2/3 required to carry.
Okay, thank you. Motion is not agreed to. Okay, voting is now open on 14. And we will move on to 15. That's Anthony Wayne. I think that's Barb Schreck.
Yep, it's me.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Barbara Schreck, Anthony Wayne Cat Fanciers, and Russian Blue Fanciers. I think it's a pretty simple amendment to the show rules, just simply saying that no boys next to each other. I would just add, in addition to what's already there for your review, the current situation. Because of COVID and the few shows that are local, you have to get on a plane, et cetera, there are some kittens, and I happen to have 2, who will not be even in the show hall until they're 6 months old. Now, normally we would get a kitten out as soon as they're 4 months old, get them acclimated to the situation, you know, and so they're more used to it. They're a little more pliable. When you have a 6 or maybe 7, or I don't know what everybody else has, an older kitten, I think this particular proposal to have no males next to each other, no matter how old they are, is more important today than otherwise.
Okay, Clinton Parker, you're recognized.
Clinton Parker, Tonkinese East. I really just not commenting on this resolution, but they keep saying 2/3. We are on show rules now. I just want to clarify, it doesn't just require a 50% to pass?
That's correct. My apologies.
It didn't get 50%.
It didn't get 50%.
It didn't get 50% either.
Yeah, I know that. I just wanted to clarify. We kept saying 2/3.
Yep,
Thank you.
thank
My
you, Clinton.
apologies.
Appreciate it. Lori?
Lori Coughlin, Greater Lancaster Feline Fanciers. As a very frequent exhibitor and sometime master clerk and clerk, I would say it's much easier to deal with this issue by dropping a little yellow sticky Post-it note with the clerk in the ring if you have an issue. I've never had any blowback from a clerk if I ask somebody to space around my cat. As a clerk, if you tell me that I have to space all the males out, even in the kitten class, you're adding probably 20 minutes to my day. I don't think this is practical when there's another way to handle it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Debbie, you're recognized.
I am in favor of the male and female being separated. I've seen this as a clerk and as an exhibitor, that you need to have the kittens separated. As they get older, they don't know when they're 7 or 8 months old. They just know they're going to blow if they feel like it, because there is a boy next to them, or there's a girl that's going into her first heat. In favor of this.
Name and cat club, please.
Debbie Allgaier, Touch of Class Cat Club, and Black and Tails Cat Fanciers.
So I think if we institute the fines we used to do when you didn't do your name and club, we would put an end to this. So Vivian Baylor, please state your name and club.
Vivian Baylor, National Alliance of Burmese Breeders and Tennessee Valley Cat Fanciers. Lori basically took the words out of my mouth. I had both the issues that she had in terms of being a clerk, and we were just discussing how much time we're taking to show cats. And here we're talking about adding another 20, 30 minutes, depending on how many kittens there are. And I think it's something that can be handled very easily, as Lori mentioned, by little sticky notes to the clerk saying this cat can't be next to that cat. We do that now with the other classes. And I think the number of kittens that I've ever had to move while clerking is 1, maybe 2. I mean, it's just not really a major issue as far as I can tell.
Thank you. George Eichenhauser, you're recognized.
George Eichenhauser, Benita and West Shore. I support this, and I understand the clerks that say you can, ask for extra spaces around your cat. I'm not worried about my cat. I don't bring cats in heat to show halls, and I don't bring boys that spray into show halls, but other people do. And I've been the victim of them on more than a few occasions. You know, if you've got a girl and the boy in the next cage is feeling his Cheerios and starts spraying, you don't know that's going to happen until it happens. Males approaching 7, 8 months of age can be feeling mature enough that they become a problem. And this is a very small precaution to take rather than waiting until after the fact and telling the next clerk, oh, that cat sprayed my cat in the last ring. I think we should pass this.
Thank you, Brad Newcomb. You're recognized.
Thank you, Brad Newcomb, Triple Crown Cat Fanciers. I just wanted to touch, just to reiterate, we were earlier, not too long ago, talking about how long the shows take currently. You get into shows, say Cotton States, for example, where you'll get nearly 100 kittens. If you have to start separating those kittens, males and females, you're going to add at least 20, 30 minutes extra onto what you already have. And I understand that, yes, it can be a problem with certain breeds. Short hairs are a little more predominant than long hairs. It's not going to separate boys and girls. So to George's point about a girl, you know, a boy feeling his oats next to a girl, maybe starting to come into heat, it's not going to make a difference. It's still going to exist, even if you separate them out. But, and I agree with what Lori said, it's as simple as giving me a note. No one, and I've been a clerk for a long time. Everyone knows if you come and ask me to do something for you, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that happens. It's that simple, but it does interrupt the flow, especially when you get into kittens, and it will add time to the show and length that it takes to complete. There is no way around that. Anyone that has ever been behind that table as a clerk knows what I am talking about firsthand. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Mike, name and club, please. Unmute your mic.
There it is. Mike Jacoby, Maine Coon Cat Club. I want to agree again with other people with the speeding up the ring. I've been a very experienced clerk many times. The only time I've been able to make up time and be able to get a judge done by the advertised show hours is by being able to really speed through the kittens, not having to worry about separating the males. It makes for the flow that much better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Mary Kay.
No, never mind.
Okay, Joan, name and club.
Joan Freidenberg, Superstition Cat Fanciers. Just would like to make a point when we're talking about increasing the time by 20 to 30 minutes, that is in each ring. That's not a total 20, 30-minute time. You're talking, if you've got 6 rings, you could be adding 2 or 3 hours to your time. And as with other clerks, what they've said, a note to the clerk saying, please don't put my cat next to this other cat is sufficient. And I've had that, I've clerked a lot of shows and I get notes like that maybe 3, 4, 5 times in a show, and very few of them are for kittens. If somebody in kitten class says, I don't want my kitten next to another kitten, I will make sure that happens.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
Have your hand up.
Yeah, I did just want to make one more point. It's really, we come down to the same thing. It's up to the owner to know their animal. The owner.
Brad,
sorry, Triple Crown Cat Fanciers, Brad Newcomb, Triple Crown Cat Fanciers. It's up to the owner to know their animal, whether their animal will or will not, or is going to or not going to behave in that fashion. Anybody that shows an animal knows their animal better than anyone else.
Okay, thank you. Barb, would you like to close out the debate?
Yeah, I just want to say that passing a note is fine.
Name and club, Barb.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to do that. Anthony Wayne and Russian Blue Cat Fanciers. Passing a note is fine, but it doesn't prevent the initial problem, and it doesn't always show up, or you don't always know that it's going to happen. And the reason this was proposed is because whatever it was we showed last, I had a Russian Blue Kitten male next to an Oriental short hair male. They were fine in class. They went to the final, they were positioned in exactly the same places, and somebody said something about somebody's mother or heritage. And it was a real problem trying to get those cats separated because there were cages on all sides. So I do take issue with the fact that you know your cat. You never know what goes on in their minds, and you never can predict. So this is a preventative measure, and the clerks are always quite good when you pass them a note, but you may not know to pass that note until it's too late.
Okay, thank you, Barb. So we're going to close the voting on Amendment 14. This will end debate on 15, and we will open the voting for 15.
Shall I announce 14?
Yes.
A proposal 14 regarding hanging rosettes on an empty cage received 116 positive votes that did not achieve the 50% to pass a show rule resolution.
Great. Okay, thank you. All right, and Lorna, you're up with 16.
Sorry about that.
Lorna?
I'm here. Okay, Lorna Fremont, Almost Heaven Cat Club. This proposed show resolution would add additional championship and premiership final spots once a threshold of entries has been reached. Best, second best, and third best long hair champion, best, second, and third best short hair champion for entries less than 40. Best through fifth best champion, best through fifth best long hair champion, and best through fifth best short hair champion for open champion entries of 40 or more. In premiership, best and second best premier, best and second best long hair premier, best and second best short hair premier for open premier entries less than 15 would change to best, second, and third best premier, best, second, and third best long hair premier, best, second, and third best short hair premier for open premier entries of 15 or more. We would like to see shows be more lucrative for quality cats that attend them. Awarding additional placements when the count warrants it is a value-added opportunity for deserving cats to earn grand points.
Okay, Sue Robbins, your hands up.
Sue Robbins, Delaware River Cats Club. I like the substance or the intention of this rule. However, I think that there need to be some substantive changes with the numbers to automatically add 2 additional placements in championship over 40. I think the 40 and below is fine. I would like to see the 4th and the 5th additional awards in incremental placements. For example, if there were 40 to 55, a 4th and or 40 and under 55, and then 55 and over a 5th incremental. And with the added award for premiership, I think the threshold is too low. I think it should be 20. Otherwise, I really like the proposal.
Elaine, you're recognized.
Aileen Chafnisky, Turkish Angora Fanciers International. I will tell you that if you are trying to grant a long-haired cat, you will support this. This is a great idea. It's been a long time coming, and I think it's going to encourage more people to get out and keep their cats out. And especially coming off the pandemic when everybody's been at home. Everyone's got champions and premiers right now. Let's reward them for coming on out. That's it.
Thank you. Sherry, you're recognized.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sherry Schaefer, Tonkinese Breed Association. Sorry, I should start my video. I'm in support of this only because while I have taken a break from showing the last couple of years, I've come back out recently, and what I've noticed in shows is the extreme high quality that is out there in premiership and champions themselves, and how few spots there are in the finals, and how great cats struggle to get branded just because there's so few spots available to them. And it's not so much for me, but I'm thinking of new people who are showing. We're wanting to bring in new exhibitors, new breeders, and especially for those of us in the breeds that aren't the more established. I know how hard it is to get in that final. And when we do, it's very exciting, but there's just such great quality of cats now trying to get granted. I know for me, I get frustrated and I'm like, I really don't want to take 8 months to grant a cat, so I'll leave them at home. I'm just thinking for the organization as a whole to get more entries, to encourage more new people, and to get new breeders who want to come in and be part of CFA. I just think this is a great proposal and something that's been needed for a long time. Thank you.
You, Brad Newcomb, name and club.
Yes, Brad Newcomb, Triple Crown Cat Fanciers. Lorna told me to wait till this one came up. Lorna, I would support it 100%. I agree. It's needed. It's been a long time coming, especially since the since this COVID situation has impacted the entire world. Would you just give an example? Triple Crown Cat Fanciers, which is my club coming up in July. You have 80 champions and opens in that show. So I think people need to be rewarded. There are a lot of quality cats out there, but we're going to limit those to, maybe 6 cats, 3 longs and 3 shorts. Because you're not along with those 80 champion opens, you've also got quite a few grands. So you're limiting the spots. You're really, again, people aren't feeling the reward. And right now is when we really need to show our support and show that reward. I do understand somewhat of what Sue was saying. I'm not completely sold on just jumping straight to 5th. I think maybe tiered might get more support. Let's see what it gets. Maybe think about looking at tiered, maybe going to anything over 50 or 55 before you go to your 5th. But I would support this the way it stands.
Thank you. Clinton Parker, name and club.
Clinton Parker, Tonkinese East. I don't know, I just have a real problem with this. Maybe I've been around too long, but used to be a grand was a real important thing, and all we're doing all the time is lessening the value of it. First of all, a lot of shows get 40 champions, so you're going to be going from 3 to 5, almost for a very high number of shows, and that's going to make it a lot more people getting grands easier. People might hate me saying that, but that's really what it is. And first of all, I don't understand why the proposition immediately went just from 3 to 5. I mean, I might even be more supportive if it went from 3 to 4, but it just went from 3 to 5, and the 40 threshold to me is fairly low when you already have a lot of shows that get 40 champions. It's just, I just think it doesn't help CFA. All we do is lessen the importance of these awards, and history has shown that most of the times this doesn't help things, it just hurts.
Thank you, Pete Deal, name and club.
Support this motion. I
Name
think
and
that in
club.
future years, maybe we might want to change the numbers a little bit.
Pete,
Yes,
you have to state your name and club.
I thought I did.
You didn't.
Okay. I see what I did. I didn't take the mute off. Okay, now the mute's off. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Pete Deal, Paw Prints in the Sand. I completely support this motion. I think that possibly it could be argued that the numbers should be a little bit more, a little bit less, but this is the motion that we're voting on. And especially this year and also previous years, when you look at the numbers of opens and champions and opens and premieres that are showing, it's, at some point, it's like, why do you bother to continue to show when you don't really have a chance, when you're trying to get 1 of 3 spots out of 80 cats, like coming up at Lexington. So I would urge everybody to support this motion as written. And then if we need to modify it again in future years, we modify it.
Thank you, Pete. Mike Jacoby, please state your name and club or clubs you're representing.
Mike Jacoby, Maine Coon Cat Club. I want to follow up a little bit on what Clinton was talking about, because I know in the past years, we have, as an organization, occasionally increased the number of points needed for Grand Champion, Grand Premier. As we start with this one, the one we're talking about with additional placements in breed, and one coming up, we're adding a lot more opportunities to get grand points. Maybe we should also be looking at a possibility of increasing the number of points needed to actually achieve the grand title with these kind of changes. Thank you.
Okay, Nancy Peterson, please state your name and club.
Nancy Peterson, long and short of it, and Penn Jersey Cat Fanciers. I mean, this problem is kind of a recent problem. I mean, in years past, I mean, it was very common to have that many champions in a show. Our entries were, we always filled, you know? Nowadays, we don't get those kinds of entries. I don't see why we're giving away so many more grand points and, you know, making it cheaper.
Okay, thank you. Lorna, would you like to wrap this up, please? No, yeah,
Sure.
okay.
There's, for anybody that's saying anything about cheapening wins, you probably haven't been into a show hall recently. So the quality of cats that are being shown currently is far superior than any cats I've seen in a long time. I think that grading cats is harder now than ever, and we should really support this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. That ends debate on number 16. Aline, will you close the vote on 15? And Rachel, will you announce the vote on 15?
Yes, the vote on proposal number 15 regarding male cage spacing was 74 yes votes, which did not achieve the 50% required for a show rule.
Okay, thank you. And Aline, will you open vote on number 16?
It's open.
Okay, number 16 is open for everybody to vote. And we'll move on to 17. And that's Rome Cat Forum. Is that-
Sorry, I was voting. Leslie Carr, Rome Cat Forum. This is a change that actually is in effect for now. It was voted in by the board for last show season and again for this current show season. There's two things that it does. The first is something that benefits other areas than regions 1 through 7, mostly by decreasing the number of different judges needed for qualifying rings for either a champion or premier down to 2 in all areas of the world. The thing that it does in addition that is the most important to me is it basically states that if a cat has reached the number of grand points for its area, which in regions 1 to 9 would be 200 grand champion or 75 grand premier, in less than the number of qualifying rings for that area, again, 6 qualifying rings would be regions 1 to 7, it can claim the title of grand champion, grand premier, and on the second day of the show, compete as such. It would have to continue paying the fee that is required for a championship claim or premiership claim. This has no additional cost to implement. It has many advantages in an 8-ring or 10-ring show where you have 4 or 5 rings on the first day and then the same number on the second day. The cat doesn't have to compete as a champion the second day if it had earned the 200 points on the first day. Any cat that's good enough to have earned those 200 points in either the 4 or 5 rings will most likely not be disqualified in additional rings coming up, which is what all it requires to get us qualifying rings. So I do ask that you vote yes for this to make this a permanent change.
Okay, any debate? Right, okay, Lori?
Lori Coughlin, Greater Lancaster Feline Fanciers. Although I appreciate the sentiment of this, I find it hard to justify reducing from 4 to 2 different judges, because in my area, you could do that in 2 weekends with just 2 friends. Not that I'm implying anything about the judging corps, but I think it needs more than 2 people to certify your cat's good enough to qualify for the next step.
Okay. Anyone else? No? Okay.
Can I respond to that?
You can close it out, please.
No, can I respond to that first, Daryl?
Hold on, I've got a couple more hands up.
Okay.
Delabar. That's 16.
Yes.
You're mute, Pam.
You're muted, Pam.
Thank you. Pam Delabar, Sophisticat. I'm trying to, Daryl. Pam Delabar, Sophisticat Club, Chat Noir. This idea originated here in Finland. It worked very well for the portion of the show season that we had. It is currently in effect for this show season. I think it's a great idea, and I'm glad Leslie presented it to become a permanent part of the show rules. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Brad Newcomb, name and club.
Yes, Brad Newcomb, Triple Crown Cat Fanciers. I just wanted to say, and I want to use some numbers here real quick. I understand what Lori was talking about with 2 judges or 3 judges. I understand getting winners ribbons, but in terms of what we're talking about in terms of grands, when you look, and I'll use Triple Crown coming up, you have 80 open champions. You have to be one of the top 3 all breeds and at least 3 rings to grand. So you're still going to get your evaluation by more than 2 judges to achieve that grand. So I don't think it's going to have the impact that we're thinking it's going to have, but I believe it is a step in the right direction. We've already eliminated winners ribbons, which kind of took the whole purpose of the winners ribbon out of the way when we did that. So I think we're still going to be able to achieve it. I think it's going to help us move forward with the amendment that was just passed with increasing the number of champions to help, like Lorna said, the quality of cats walking in the show hall now far exceeds anything we've seen for a very long time. I think we need to recognize that and make our rules based on moving forward with the amount of quality that we have versus the amount of quality we may have had 40 or 50 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you. Ginger Meeker, name and club. You're muted, Ginger.
Paul would like to be able to do that. Ginger Meeker, Cleveland Persian. I'd like to know what this provision does to the revenue that CFA gets from the champion certification process.
Still got to certify.
It still requires the certification of the champion. You still have to pay the fee.
Even with the 4 rings or the 2 rings or whatever.
All it does is it says that, yes, it does say no matter how many rings you have to pay.
Okay. This is
That
one
to-
of our
to
revenue
claim-
makers and I'd hate to lose it.
It basically says that to claim the grand, you have to have the number of points and pay the fee. It doesn't give a number of rings anymore.
Okay, Jackie Bennett. Name and
Jackie
club.
Bennett, Asa Cats International, Ragamuffin Cat Fanciers. I support this resolution for the reason that was mentioned by both Brad and by Leslie. If a cat has defeated 200 other cats and only earned 3 winners ribbons, the likelihood of it not getting the last 3 winners ribbons is nil. And then by it granding, it moves to grand champion, thereby opening the door for other cats to earn that title, to earn those placements. You're not going to get a cat being placed as a best all breed champion who's going to be disqualified by another judge. I can't imagine it happen. We've got a very talented judging program. I doubt you're going to have 98% of the judging program go, oh my God, you granted that? That's not going to happen. I think this is a good idea.
Monty Phillips, you're recognized, name and club.
Yeah, Monty Phillips, Cat on the Fox. Just want to make a point of clarification. This rule is currently in effect and will be in effect all the way to April 30th, 2022. What you're voting on is to make it effective from May 1st, 2022 on. But as you read it, that's the current rule.
Thank you, Monty. Kenny Curley, you're recognized.
Wait, Kenny Curley, Japanese Singapura, European short hair. I'm fully supportive of this. It's an excellent idea. We've implemented it because of COVID, and it's very, very popular, and it certainly allows our superstars to be recognized.
Thank you, Kenny. Leslie, would you like to finish in debate here?
Thank you.
Your closing statement, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Leslie Carr, Rome Cat Forum. I'd just like to comment on the comment that was made about the 2 judges. It does not change anything about claiming a champion or a premier title. You would still need, in the cases of regions 1 to 9, 6 qualifying rings to get that. So all it does is say that you would only need 2 judges to do that. However, if you've gone into other ones and been disqualified, that kind of ends your run at a champion or premier title. It doesn't change that whatsoever. The 2 judges, though, will help areas such as the international division, where there may only be 2 judges available. Finland, I think, is one. Pam could tell you all the ones in Europe that are also affected by only having a few judges. Does not affect anything really in regions 1 to 7, because if you put your cat in the ring at an 8-ring show, you're going to put it in all 4 rings. You're going to go and put in the next day if you don't have your points. So I don't feel that the 2 judges does anything to anybody in region 1 to 7 negative. That's all.
Thank you. Debate is closed on 17. Eileen, will you close voting on 16? And open voting on 17? And Rachel, will you announce 16?
Proposal 16 regarding additional champions and premier spots received 126 yes votes. That does not meet the % requirement to pass.
Okay, thank you. All right, and 18, and Mary Kay, I believe that's you.
Yes, can you give me 1 second while I vote?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, all right. So number 18, this came up this season, and we can call this the pandemic anomaly, because we've got these classes that have so many champions in them, because we haven't had enough shows and we've got a backlog of champions. So that's how this came up. But I want everybody to think about something. In a class of 80 champions that's evenly split between long hair and short hair, with the top 15 final made up of all champions, 11th best all breed champion, not 11th best cat, but 11th best all breed champion would receive 4 points for defeating 68 cats from that all breed placement. If that cat is also the 4th highest ranked short hair champion, that would be worth 27 points, except that central office does not score the short hair placements. Now, if you ask breeders, if you ask exhibitors how many points that cat should get, when we ask them this question to a person, the instinctive reaction is the cat gets 27 points, it gets the higher placement. We all intuitively believe that that is how it is supposed to work, but that is not how it works according to central office. When I read the show rules, I get an interpretation that supports my view. When they read the show rules, they get an interpretation that supports their view. So when we have this kind of a situation, we need to fix the show rule. And that's what this does. It makes the show rule match what we all intuitively think this should be, that the cat would get the higher of the placement. We would rank cats in an all breed final. We would rank the champions in an all breed final and the premiers. We would rank them according to both their all breed placement and their specialty placement, and they would get the higher value. Because of how this is worded right now, a cat that makes a final, an all breed final, and gets 4 points, that cat might actually get more points from the purple ribbon. And the show rules allow that. But I just think that this is not how we intuitively expect the show rules to work. So I hope that you can support making the show rules match what we all intuitively expect.
Okay, thank you, Mary Kay. Pete Deal, name and club, please.
Pete Deal, Paw Prints in the Sand. When I went to the Cotton State show this past year, one of the things they were advertising is there are a lot of grand points available. When I left the Cotton State show, I was happy. My cat had earned 76 points, or at least I thought. Because in the stuff that Mary just talked about, the difference between judging a short hair or a long hair in a short hair or long hair specialty versus judging the short hair or long hair in the all breed specialty, all breed ring, it really doesn't make any sense. And when I read the show rules, and then I took this to the board a few months ago, when I read the show rules, when Mary read the show rules, and when several of the regional directors that I spoke to read the show rules, they agreed that you should have be awarded the higher score based on the number of cats that you actually defeated, not a score of 4. quite honestly, having beaten about 30 cats and getting 4 grand points, I wouldn't have wasted my money going to Cotton States. So I would ask everybody to please support this motion. All this motion does is to put into words what the show rules, I believe, already require.
Thank you, Pete. Clinton Parker, name and club, please.
Clinton Parker, Tonkinese East. First of all, I'm very much in support of this rule. The one thing I have a question about is like a lot of show rules, they're presented as effective immediately. My understanding, it has to be stated in the show rule and the proposal, and I don't think it is here. If this gets 2/3 passage, would the board approve of maybe making this effective immediately? But anyway, because as is now, if it's effective immediately, this show rule wouldn't go into place till next year. But anyway, I'm all in favor of it, and thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, Mary Kay, you would like the last word on this one?
Yes, and while I would love for this to be effective immediately, I'm sure it requires some work on central office's part. So perhaps it should be effective if the board so considers, if everybody supports this, and perhaps the board can make it effective like October 1st or something like that. Or, you know what? I'll be happy with it being effective next show season. Just let's make it effective.
So show rules take effect the first weekend in October, Mary Kay?
No.
Huh?
No.
First weekend in May, they take effect.
They take effect in May.
They're approved by the board at the October meeting.
Yes.
For the fall.
Yes.
For the following May. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Okay, so you said the 1st of October, it would not be possible to do that.
Okay.
We don't meet until after that date. Just making that clarification. Okay, so debate on 18 is closed. Debate is closed, and the voting on 17 now is closed. Aline, if you'll open voting on 18, and Rachel, if you will announce the vote on 17.
Proposal 17 regarding transfer to grant is received 198 yes votes. That would pass by 2/3.
Okay, there you go. All right. Let's move on to 19, Mary Kay, that's also you.
Yeah, and I'm still trying to vote on 18. Okay, I got it. Hang on.
Okay, that's no problem. Just when you're ready, you can start.
Okay, number 19. What is number 19? Okay. Number 19. Number 19 is the one that allows champions and premiers to earn grand points from the brown and orange ribbon when they defeat grands. So we actually passed this at our last in-person annual, and for reasons passing my understanding, the board did not implement it, even though central office says it would be very cheap to implement. What this does is if your cat gets if your open or champion or premier gets a brown or orange ribbon, you can get a point from defeating. If you get the brown ribbon, you get a point from defeating each grand. If you get the orange ribbon, you get 90% of the points of best champion. So that's all this does.
Okay. Brad, you're recognized, name and club.
Brad Newcomb, Triple Crown Cat Fanciers. I would support this 100% in support of this. It's similar to the proposal that Lorna brought up earlier, where she wanted to increase champions within class, with the exception, you're going to get a second champion in class that's going to get points more than likely. You may get a champion with a brown and a champion with an orange over grands. So in that case, you're going to have two champions that are going to gain points in class. But it makes sense from a standpoint that you beat that grand. Why would you not get to keep a point for that? That means you were better than the grand that you were going against. So I would support it wholeheartedly as it stands.
Thank you. Lori, you're recognized. Please state your name and club.
Lori Coughlin, Greater Lancaster Feline Fanciers, kind of echoing Brad here. It makes total sense that if you're competing for a title of Grand, if you beat an existing Grand, you should get a point for it. I wholeheartedly support this. That's very logical.
Thank you, Jackie Bennett. You're recognized. Please state your name and club.
Jackie Bennett, Austin Cats International, Ragamuffin Cat Club. I absolutely support this, except I do have a question. So let's say you have 2 Grands and 1 Open in competition in a show that has 4 all-breed rings and 2 specialty rings. And the Grands are competing for titles, and therefore they absentee out of the 2 specialty rings. The Open has now garnered 2 points for cats he did not defeat because we do not do ring by ring scoring. Are we okay with that?
Mary, you want to answer that?
That can happen now. It happens all the time.
Okay, thank you. Tim Schreck, please state your name and club. You're recognized.
Tim Schreck, Southeastern Michigan Cat Fanciers. We did research on this the last time this came up, just to clarify. To do the programming for this is a little more complicated than it has been presented. But the other point I wanted to make was that in over 90% of the times that a champion defeated a Grand, the champion also made the final, which eliminated those points. So the points never got awarded in the first place. So you're doing a lot of programming for points that never get used. And that is the big point on this, that, you know, I understand what you're trying to say here, but really you don't, in overwhelming number of cases, you don't get these points anyway. So you're just doing programming for nothing. Thank you.
Tim. Barb, please state your name and club.
Barbara Schreck, Anthony Wayne Cat Fanciers and Russian Blue Fanciers. Well, I've kept quiet all this time, but not too quiet. But anyway, I really have a big problem with a number of these things that are being proposed. Everybody's talking about, oh, how we have such competition now, and so how hard it is to Grand. I remember once in the old days, and I admit to being in the old days, that an all breed Russian Blue female, not one of mine, at one of the Mid-Michigan shows was best champion. She got 101 points. So how is it that today we have so much more competition than we used to? And furthermore, once these shows start being more than just one in a weekend and sort of back to normal, I think that the levels of competition will level out more towards the area that you're from, rather than being concentrated in one place. So I guess we should just maybe give everybody a title if they show up in one ring and just say, call it done with.
Big deal. Please state your name and club. You're muted. You're muted, Pete.
Sorry about that. I'm unmuted now. One way to look at it, this is Pete Deal, Paw Prints in the Sand. One way to look at this proposal is that Grand champions get points for beating champions and opens. Why shouldn't opens and champions get points for beating Grands? And I agree with all of those people that are in favor of this, and I think this should pass.
Thank you. Eileen Chesnisky.
Aileen Chavnisky, Turkish Angora Fanciers International. Just as with the last resolution, I think, look, we have a rare opportunity here. We have hopefully got this pandemic winding down. We got a whole bunch of people who wanted to come into show halls. This is a great opportunity to make the changes we need to make this organization make sense to new exhibitors in the future. This is a perfect example of what we need in CFA. Thank you.
Mary Kay, closing statement, please.
Okay, I just wanted to get back to what Tim said about if a champion defeats a grand in class, it likely makes the final. I don't know where that comes from, but that does not hold true in my experience. There are plenty of times where champions defeat grands and don't make the final. And that's all, that's all I want to say. I hope that people will support this because to me, it just makes sense. If your champion or open defeats a grand, why are you not getting a grand point from a cat that is above your class?
Okay, thank you. Debate on item 19 is closed. Aline, if you'll close voting on 18, open the voting on 19, and Rachel, if you'll announce a vote for 18.
Proposal 18 regarding calculating grand points received 240 yes votes. That
yes.
Oh, congratulations! That achieved your 2/3 requirement.
Good going.
I have people unmuted.
Okay, I'm sorry we went over our break time, so we're going to take a break now. Let's do about 15 minutes.